Can you make nine figures doing that? Well, that depends. If you don't take action, nothing happens.
My best deals happen when a seller doesn't know they're a seller until they meet me.
You got to go into a company and you got to know where to tear it apart, what to put in, what pieces, right? You got to scale. And I think people don't do that as well. Welcome back to another episode of Can You Make Nine Figure Doing This? We talk about partnering, roll-ups, scaling. Myself, JT Fox, and Adam Coffey. Adam Coffey, $2.46 billion in exits, 58 company acquisitions, a big, another billions that exit coming very shortly. Myself, over 79 companies and brands, business in 55 countries. Together, we partner for one purpose, either educate you how to do it or hopefully partner with you. Welcome to the show again, Adam. How are you?
Good to see you, JT. It's been a while since we've done one of these episodes. It's actually
first of all, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I know it's 10 o'clock in the morning. By the way, what's the weather? The weather is 10 Fahrenheit and where I am today.
It's miserable here. Let's see. Let's take a quick look here. I'm at 18. I've got 18. Wow. Feels like 5, it says. I
was in Bali in Australia, which is summer over there. And Bali it's always nice, right? So it was like 88 degrees and to come to the cold, it's just, and by the way, I had a t-shirt, right? So I landed JFK, you get off the plane and it's like, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yes. Yesterday morning, it's like I got up, it was 51 degrees. By like lunchtime, it was 20, and it was like almost zero, by the end of the day. It's like that Arctic blast came quick.
Well, first of all, everyone, we're doing this since there's been some big developments. Number one, we did our 2-day event, Millions to Billions, teaching people how to scale. We did it 10 minutes from Mr. Chairman's house, and it was only $198, completely sold out, completely full room. And an amazing people all over the world. People flew from Australia, Europe, all across the United States, in Canada. I think we had like 22 countries there. We only had 300 seats because that's all the hotel could fit, but it was an amazing 2 days. So today we're going to be talking about how to negotiate with sellers, right? To acquire companies, whether or not just your first business or as part of the piece of the puzzle of your business. Talk about the 2-day, Mr. Chairman. What did you think of it?
I thought it was a great event, JT, and there's actual deals and partnerships that came out of that multiple 2-day event. I'm thinking of 3 right off the top of my head. One of the deals that I had sent you an email on this morning. It's like we already have 4 letters of intent, on a quick roll up that we're doing in an industry, as a result of coming out of that 2-day event. So it can happen. It can happen for you.
Our model is this, right? We know people, they say they do deals, but they don't. And they charge $40,000 for a 2-day and then $200,000. And so we did the opposite. So we're going to give you high level. And there are some potential allegations that there wasn't really an exit like it did, as people are coming to me with information about some of the people that teach there claiming they had one exit of 75 million. But if you actually go over the details, what happens, who they related to, who their stepfather was, you start uncovering a little bit more information, and we don't want to do that. And we said we'd never do it again, except for Australia, which are going to be there in August. But we have changed our mind and do another one on May 3rd and 4th. Here's why. It simply is not so that we can make $198 for 2 days, not the 40. And it's pretty much me and Adam the entire day, the majority of Adam. But it was more because of the amount of deal flows we found. HVAC company, 3.7 million in EBITDA. A tech company with 2.2 million EBITDA. But also to a lot of great companies with amazing potential that we either say, hey, do it yourself, learn, or can we partner with you? It's actually been because once people get what we get, the information, Adam, it's a lot easier for them to go out there and for us to partner with them or partner with people that we know in our network. So that's why we decided to do another one, just because of the amazing deal flow that we had. And also people are like, man, I spent 40 grand on that nonsense and I learned more for 198. So it's not about the 198. Probably doesn't cover your gas. It's your nice little Bentley, Mr. Chairman. So what did you think about the mission, about why we do that before we go into show's topic?
Well, I think it's important, first of all. So we add a ton of value to people who come, to the room, whether I'm partner with somebody or not, I'm trying to give them value. So I'm teaching them everything I know about scaling a business, building a business, using M&A as a growth accelerator. There's a lot of people out there who do a lot of different versions, of what we do. I think our flavor is a little bit unique for sure. And not to talk bad about any of them. It's like, yes, we're different. What we do is different. I
Yeah.
teach people what I know
2.46
about
billion
growing,
by
and
the way,
then we're actively
2.46
looking
billion
for
exits.
partners. Yeah.
2.46 billion in exits, and we've already proven ourselves to be partnering with people, and now we're doing now again, and so many of that event, and people are loving this podcast as well. Also, too, my new book, Business is War, came out, crushing all over the world. And interesting is there's a whole chapter number 3, about to partner or not partner. Are you destined for business divorce? And I cannot tell you how many people are getting into deals, and we'll talk about that on our next show about structures and deals and partnerships that go bad. So make sure you pick up Business is War and pick up Adam's book. Although if you put my name in your book, all of Adam's books pop up right underneath. So you're kind of writing my drift, my friend. You got the I put my name in there, and there's like every one of your 4 books are there, which are a fantastic read as well. So Business is War is out. You learn nothing from success, everything from failure. And we'll talk about that the next show. Now let's talk about negotiating with people, right? So Adam, we people come in, and you have 2 types of person: a person that wants to sell, and everyone kind of knows about it, and then one that is unsure. They didn't even know they wanted to sell their company because you want to acquire it either as part of your puzzle for a roll up or your first company. So talk about what's the best way to approach somebody that actually is working with a business broker already and wants to sell. Let's start with that.
Well, so I mean, there are, if I was going to put a slogan on a T-shirt today, it would be something along the effect: "My best deals happen when when a seller doesn't know they're a seller until they meet me." And so finding proprietary deals, reaching out to people in an industry, that's always been where the magic is for me. But for a lot of people, it's like, hey, there's companies that are already for sale. And unfortunately, in that regard, a lot of people, once they make up their mind to sell, their focus is only on price. And so they're strictly chasing price. And they're not thinking about partnership. They're thinking about an exit as being a one and done event. They're thinking this is the end of the road. And I'm thinking, boy, this is the first rest stop on the wealth creation highway. I want to partner, with you, not just buy your business and let you walk out the door. So I think you approach it differently. And, kind of a strategy just in my mind is when it's a broker-led business, I need to stay around the hoop. So if they're out there talking to multiple parties, I'm going to have to be competitive. And so I'm very thoughtful around what are multiples that companies in a given industry are trading for. There's a lot of people that throw out big numbers, but the databases that I subscribe to don't lie. And so, I'm going to make a fair market offer, for a company. I'm going to try to get beyond the broker, as quickly as possible, and once I'm qualified as a real buyer, then it's like, I want to get to the principal. I want to have a conversation. I want to learn about the business, and, I want to learn
At what
about
point does that
what's
happen?
motivating.
Is that because sometimes the brokers are territorial, because they're afraid of like something's going to be done without them. You see that a lot in the real estate space. Can you give people an insight, the difference between a business broker and a real estate broker? People understand, because obviously in a real estate sense, many of the times you don't even really deal with the seller, or even the buyer, depending on what transaction you're
Yeah.
doing.
So in a business transaction, you're going to get to the buyer, or I'm sorry, to the seller. The buyer will get to the seller at some point. Goes way beyond the broker. The broker is just simply, kind of qualifying the prospect, maybe managing a small process if there's multiple people who are interested. But very quickly, you need to learn in depth about the business. You're going to get facilitated, in a meeting, with the ultimate seller, so that you can learn more about the business, because the broker will not have the detailed knowledge of the company. They'll have had enough to create some type of a teaser or some type of an investment book, like called a SIM, a confidential information memorandum. But at some point, you're going to be talking to the actual person selling the business. And I want to get there, as soon as I can, because the deal's not getting consummated with the broker. I need to find out about the business. I want to talk and develop a connection with that seller, because ultimately, at the end of the day, a business deal is about people. And there is a company. It has metrics and mechanics about it. different industries it might be in, and they're ultimately going to trade for some number, that's out there. But a business transaction is about people, building a relationship with that seller, understanding their motivations, understanding their needs is important. I'll tell you why it's important, JT, is because when I do eventually get to an offer or we put a number out, how we structure the deal may be drastically different based on what the needs of that person who is selling are. And so I may structure it differently based upon those parameters, and I'm not going to get that from the sim. I'm not going to get that from the broker or the book. I may get a very high level, cursory level overview of the company and a little bit of knowledge about the seller, but I want to kind of get past the broker, get to the seller, understand them as a person, develop a connection, a relationship with them, find out their motivation, so that when I structure some kind of a deal, I'm tuned into addressing what ultimately are the needs of that seller.
So what happens, let's say you're working with a broker, and what I've seen is you work with the broker to broker, it seems to be very transactional and things take a little bit longer. I like to get involved directly if we're going to do it with the broker. And I have a strategy that's very different. I think a lot of times people go in with the other broker with a macho kind of approach to it, like I'm better than you because you're a broker, and you kind of service it, go to your client. I think the approach of like, by feeding the ego of the business broker, it's like, man, tough business, man, mad respect, and complimenting the broker, I find it a lot easier that if we're requesting certain things, that person almost becomes an advocate for us. Well, not only because he's going to be making a commission, or she or he, but
Yeah.
because sometimes there may be contesting points, and you don't want the ego. And I've seen this before, right? Like, I don't think you should agree to that, right? As opposed to the person saying, you know what, it's very reasonable, and trying to get them on the side, on your side,
Yeah.
because
So,
obviously
so,
they're
so processes are different based on size of the company. We're talking
of
about
course.
typically smaller businesses that have a broker represented, rather than a broad process with an investment bank where it's very controlled environment. So I agree with what you're saying. From a broker perspective, you have to, if you're actually selling a company out there and you're listening to this, it's like, you have to remember something. The broker, you're a one transaction for them, but the broker is going to be selling companies. That's what they do for a living. And so sometimes if I'm a buyer who's buying 20, 30 companies in an industry, I have very good relationships with those brokers because I represent multiple paydays for them, whereas the company they happen to be representing at one time is one meal. And I'm a guy who goes to the grocery store and keeps on buying meals. And so, it is important to develop these relationships from with the broker if you're a buyer buying in an industry, not just one off, but you're going to keep on going back looking for others. Then it's talking about the fact that hey, listen, I am doing a buy and build, I'm doing a roll up. If other companies in this industry, hey, I'd love to continue to have a relationship with you. So now you're offering them kind of that next meal for themselves as well. And so having a good relationship with a broker, so for me, it starts by just establishing some credibility. I'm a credible buyer, and then kind of breaking down, I want to get to that seller as fast as I can. But having a relationship with the broker, especially if you're buying multiple companies in the industry, always important. And I'll tell you, like in my last roll up, 1/3 of my deals we self-generated. 1/3 of my deals walked in my front door through my website, and then 1/3 were brokers. And those brokers knew that I was buying, and so if they were representing a company in that industry, they would just reach out to me. Hey, Adam, I got here's what I got. And if I didn't like it for whatever reason, they'd come back in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Hey, Adam, I got another one. And it meets your criteria. So we can use these brokers as a tool, JT, to help us develop additional deal flow beyond the
And
first
listen, there
deal.
are people here who do this for a living, who watch this show, but I'd say the majority of people, it's something they want to do, or they've done on a small scale. They haven't done on your big scale. As other shows goes on, we will go more and more advanced on that topic, because ultimately the person that's does this for a living, that's watching this show, that's at a high level, they may not want to partner with us because they either think they could do it themselves or they know it all, which is completely fine. But I find that when you can create a dream team, that you become an unstoppable force, especially when you have $9 trillion sitting on the sideline. Now let's talk about owners that they didn't know they wanted to sell. So you're approaching a plumbing, HVAC, home service business, or IT or marketing, whatever it is. You're approaching that company, first of all, Adam, there's the part of getting to the owner, right? Chances are, if they're in the home services, they must have had a private equity just mass reach out, right? And so that's sometimes people don't know. They're just so they've been pitched before a lot of times, depending on the industry. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I think in today's world, it's 1.9 trillion that's looking for stuff to buy right now. Your phone, if you're an owner in certain industries, you're literally getting called, if not daily, it's weekly for sure. And so it's common to have people out, do outreach with you. There's multiple ways to do it. If we have time and not money, then we hunt ourselves, and certainly I cover and teach that as well. But if we have money and not time, then we hire and engage what's called a buy-side advisor. And I work with some of the largest in the country regularly, multiple companies. And when they're involved, they'll tell you it's like it takes 8-9 times of outreach to actually get elicit a response from the target. So a lot of the times when I'm thinking of outreach, I call it the buy box, or I'm creating an avatar. What is the perfect company I'm looking for? What's the revenue size? What's the earning size? Where is it geographically located? What customer verticals is it serving? But I'm also profiling then who I think the probable owner is as well. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking for a company that is owned by someone who's probably in their 60s to 70s, and they're a baby boomer seeking to exit, stage left. Where am I going to find them? I'm not going to find them on TikTok, TikTok or Instagram. I'm probably not going to find them on LinkedIn. I'm probably going to have to snail mail or physically be on a telephone. It's like I'm going to have to use old school methodologies. So I'm profiling the person too, so I can try to identify where do they hang out. And so if they're on a certain platform, I might be reaching out through that platform. But on average, I'm going to have to build a campaign. I'm going to have to do outreach, literally, buy-side advisor will tell me, kind of 9 times before I get a response. First time out, they probably throw it, pitch it. Little things too. If I snail mail something, I stick an envelope, something in an envelope. I'm not using MailChimp and stickers and bulk mailing. It's handwritten envelope, handwritten return address with real stamps on it. Why? JT, I sit by the garbage can when my mail comes, and I just literally, it's like half the mail I get goes right into the garbage can.
You know what I've done that's been very effective?
What's that?
What's got a 100% open rate?
The
A
IRS?
well,
A handwritten envelope.
no, a FedEx and or a UPS.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? I mean, you would
Sure.
open that up as a little bit differently than that. Now,
Yep.
here's the interesting part. Just want to put in this there. So you have to understand, if you do online marketing just to acquire get one lead or stuff like that, you may be spending 40, 60, 80, $100. A UPS, $24, right? If you do ground, it's actually cheaper, right? And I write personal and confidential on the envelope, boom, almost works every time. Not every time you get a call, but it gets into the hand.
Yeah, let me tell the listener out there what usually happens on the receiving side. So when they have to open it, so the JT method, the Adam method, whatever it is, when they have to open it and they open it, they may not be ready to engage with you right off the bat, but chances are they looked at the material and it might go into an inbox, on the desk. And now, selling the company is on their mind. People are calling, they saved, you created a little marketing piece, we gave it to them. And I cannot tell you how many times people come back to me like 6 months later and they say, it's like, and it's usually a health scare, or it's a bad day. It's like troubled customer, someone giving me crap. I'm getting too old for this stuff. Hey, where's that thing that I got, a few months ago? And they'll go find it and dig it out because they didn't throw it out. And then they call me out of the blue. And I may have sent 2 or 3 other, potential outreaches trying different methods, at the time. But eventually, most of those people, they will engage. They may not become actual sellers, but at some point, it's like that deal flow starts pumping. And I kind of joke and I tell people, if you're out at grandma's farm and she's got one of them old hand pumps to pump up water, and here in Texas, it's a 700-foot well. It takes a long time to pump before the water starts coming out. But once it starts coming out, it keeps on going. So if I look at my last empire, I bought 23 companies in 5 years. The first year, with unlimited capital, with the world's best buy-side advisor on my team, I bought one company. In the second year, 3, third year, 4, fifth and sixth, fourth and fifth years, then 15. So it takes a while to get deal flow going. And I think one of the problems that our listeners have when they're out there, JT, is they lose patience and they get what I call as shiny penny syndrome, where they get so focused on, I'm trying to buy something, here's something I can buy. They overlook obvious flaws in the company because they just want to get a deal done, and they buy the wrong company, a company they shouldn't have. We need to be real disciplined as buyers, only buy good companies run by good people, pay fair market value, but we need at bats. And so outreach, trying to develop a funnel, and getting, doing the JT method or the Adam method and sending out 500 letters or FedExes. And, what I'm looking to do really on a calendar, I want to be having conversations. I start my outreach within 3 months. I want to be having some good quality conversations. I want to be looking under the hood of some companies. If I'm not, I need to adjust my approach. By the 6th month, I'm looking for somebody to be under letter of intent, and I'll close that deal in the next 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it takes. But I'm really looking for, when I start from scratch, I'll probably buy one company in the first year, but then I'll start getting increased deal flow. All those outreach attempts start coming back to me, and eventually I'll have a lot of deal flow coming.
The interesting part, what's different about us, how we do it. If you're watching this, hopefully you come to the 2-day in Dallas again, 10 minutes from your house, Adam, or in Sydney, Australia, which is almost like at capacity. We're just announcing the 3rd and 4th today. Is when we come in, we're just not simply kind of buying it and then forgetting. We are giving people the option. There's 2 options. Some of you here may be watching this and say, our thing is, okay, whatever your valuation is, great. We'll give you a fair valuation partner. And if we exit big together, that valuation comes off the top. When we start acquiring smaller companies, right, we will basically acquire a large portion of their company, have them retain so that they can participate when we exit on the big level, so that they can get an exit and then maybe roll up to the next one, however they want. Because by themselves, if you're making 500,000, 700,000, the odds of you getting to $4 million EBITDA without spending 5 times more in marketing, without having 5 times more people, without hiring another 20 trucks, whatever that is, the CapEx is really rare. But together, me, you, them, we figured, hey, where we go, you go with us. And that's what's made us very different, why we've been so successful. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, so what I would say is, whether you did it with us or without us, you can spend a couple $100. I'll give you the knowledge and you can do it yourself. You don't have to partner with us at all. That's what we do. But there are inevitably, in every group, there are people out there who say, well, I do want to partner with you. I want to make sure that I have, people who are experienced in doing this around the table as I'm doing this. And so we built an ecosystem, with people who help due diligence, who help from a legal perspective or a financing perspective, and we have those resources. And even then, JT, it's like something else that's different about us, I think, is that they have different ways of engaging with us. In the chairman group, when they join the chairman group, they get what I'll call is assisted help, meaning that they can check in with the team. Our resources become their resources. And again, they're essentially still doing it by themselves, versus kind of the full Monty, where they actually partner with us. And then we ride shotgun, directly on their specific deals. And so there's different ways to engage, but the activity and the knowledge is the same. Whether you spent $200 and you were in the seminar, or you joined the chairman group, which is our peer group, or you actually partnered with us and do something with us direct. And so, we don't hold back the knowledge, the information, or the contacts. People can get it, very, very inexpensively. I put up, in that $200 seminar, I put up the contact information for people that I work with doing roll-ups, whether I'm doing them with a PE firm, or I'm doing them myself, or I'm doing them, as a part of
we don't want to charge people $40,000. We just tell the people, cover our costs for the hotel room and the flights that it takes to all the people to run this event. That's what makes us different as well. We want to do deals or just learn how to do it yourself. The link is in the profile for that as well. Today, you got a good idea of hopefully a couple nuggets of, okay, going through a broker, and then the other one, obviously, going to yourself. And the next one, we're going to talk about something kind of very interesting about structures of partnership. You guys want to do something, the cohesion of, are you going to take advantage of, what's going to happen? What if the dynamic is not right between business partners or you and versus the person acquire, the drama that often happens as well. So we're going to talk about that very episode. But listen, it doesn't cost, wherever you're listening to this, whether Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, it doesn't cost you anything to leave us a review and a comment on YouTube. Subscribe, give us a comment what you think as well. Share it with somebody else. Again, we give this value in order, hopefully we do deals with you. And, hopefully you pick up Business is War and Adam's 3 amazing book, Empire Builder, because it's dedicated to me. Great book. The other two, they're not dedicated to me, but I didn't know you then. So I excuse you.
That's right. Yeah.
Every book from here on out. And then Adam and I are talking about maybe at some point towards the end of the year, putting a book together, where we could put it out there as well. We're here to do deals. That's ultimately, and if you do it by yourself, and the event is not just about, hey, I want to do this for a living, or I want to be a deal maker, or I want to acquire. The first day is all about scaling fast, because even if anything else, right, you got to go into a company and you got to know where to tear it apart, what to put in, what pieces, right? You got to scale. And I think people don't do that as well. So thank you very much. Can you make 9 figures doing that? Well, that depends. If you don't take action, nothing happens. We'll see you on the next episode on the next show as well. Link in the comment for more information and an Amazon to basically pick up our books. We'll see you next time.